Hi everyone, my name is Jade. I own and operate Calver & Associates Canadian Immigration Services. Today we're talking about regular visitor visas versus the parent-grandparent super visa and the differences between the two. So visitor visas, a regular visitor visa or a TRV to Canada, allows a person to come to Canada for normally 6 months in a row. After the 6 months, they have to leave back to their home country. I generally advise that people only stay in Canada 6 months out of every 1 year period. A super visa for parents or grandparents, on the other hand, allows people to come to Canada for up to 2 years at a time. For example, if someone was coming from India, if they had a regular visitor visa, they'd be allowed to come to Canada for 6 months, as long as the CBSA officer let them in for that long. Whereas if they were a parent or grandparent on a super visa, they could enter Canada and stay here for up to 2 years at one time. So people often ask me, clients call, and they ask, Jade, what are the differences between a regular visitor visa and the super visa? Well, my answer to that is they're generally the same, but there are some differences between the two. With a regular visitor visa, or a TRV, the difference between countries does vary a little bit on where the person is coming from, but generally you need to show that you A, have enough money to support yourself here for 6 months, and B, that you'll return to your home country at the end of your stay. It's a simple visitor visa application, and we can apply online or via paper to the local visa office. The processing time depends on that visa office, and at the end, the person is granted a visitor visa. Initial visitor visas, that is to say the first visitor visa, is usually issued for just 6 months. If the person has traveled to other countries, such as the United States, they'll be issued a longer visitor visa, so usually 5 or 10 years. But remember, even if that person is issued a 5-year visa, they can only enter Canada for the 6 months and then they have to leave. In terms of a super visa application, you need to apply online, and there are some additional requirements that are needed. You need to show that as an applicant that you have a child or grandchild who is a Canadian permanent resident or Canadian citizen. There are also some income requirements to show that that child or grandchild is able to support you while you're here in Canada. Lastly, you need to show that you have medical coverage while you're here on your super visa. It needs to cover medical coverage up to $100,000. You have to have actually purchased the insurance, and it needs to be valid for at least 2 years. So it needs to be valid for the entire duration of your stay. The visa officer, for when they're looking at the super visa applications, will also take into consideration the country conditions of your home country and what you're leaving behind. So are you apt to return to that home country after you finish your 2-year super visa time here in Canada? So the question I always get as well is, which one is better for me and my parents? Should I apply for a regular visa or a visitor visa? And I always say that it will depend on a few different factors. The first is, do you have enough money to cover them? If you're applying for a super visa, there are income requirements to show in an application, so you really have to make sure that you can meet those requirements for the application. The second are the country conditions and travel history of your parent. Has your parent traveled a lot to other countries? Are they coming from a country that's stable enough for them to go back to? Especially with the competitiveness of the parent-grandparent sponsorship class, officers are going to be especially tough on super visa applications. And lastly, which this one is a little bit humorous, you have to ask yourself, does my parent actually want to live in Canada for 2 years? Lots of parents say, over the phone that they want to come and visit their grandchild or child and want to be together. But again, they get here and they get to Canada and summer ends and they're ready to go back to a warmer climate perhaps. So those are really some questions to ask yourself when you're applying for deciding whether to apply for the TRV application or a parent-grandparent super visa application. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out. We're at calvaryimmigrationservices.com.